I could do this all day.
Stay down.
Welcome into ComiCast Video. Jong Lee here with...
Hey, Michael Carroll, what's up?
Thank you guys for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at MyNameJong.
I'm at Producer Mike 975.
And our first debut YouTube video, what is more appropriate than talking about the Zack Snyder Cut?
I mean, nothing else really? Because, I mean, why not?
Zack Snyder, for those of you that don't know, is going to be releasing the Snyder Cut in 2021, and he announced it via Vero on Wednesday morning after he was doing a Man of Steel watch party, and Henry Cavill, of all people, were involved in it, and he's finally on the bandwagon of hashtag release the Snyder Cut. What does this mean for HBO Max and for Warner Brothers?
I mean, it's the latest in a string for, I mean, we talked about it on the audio version of the podcast, the latest in a string for the entertainment arms race, if you will. This was initially a thing that I didn't think would happen. And now with the inclusion of HBO Max, it changed the whole landscape of it to where, okay, yeah, it actually does make sense to release this alleged Snyder Cut. But this is a big thing. I mean, there's a lot of aspects you could look at it from a big win for fans, a big win for Zack Snyder himself, a big win for Warner Brothers in terms of content for HBO Max and buzz for HBO Max. I mean, the ramifications of it are widespreading.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll go on record of saying this, and for those of you who do listen to the podcast, for the longest time, for the last couple of years, me and you both were like, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And I think within the last 6 months or so, people were like, well, there are stuff out there, there are hints out there that it might happen. And so we've softened our stance on whether this was going to actually happen or not. And I think that I'm, for one, glad that the whole release the Snyder Cut hashtag is kind of over with, and people are going to finally get what they're asking for with the Snyder Cut. And I kind of want everyone to kind of temper their expectations just a little bit, just because of the cut that we did see in theaters. That was, I guess, maybe some people say 30-40% of what Zack Snyder's vision was going to be. But the plot points and the story beats aren't too different, I don't think, than what Zack Snyder kind of intended. You just had a bunch of stuff cut out. You had Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg origin stories basically just cut out of the entire thing. So the character development wasn't really there. And maybe the ending might have been a little different with cutscenes and also end credits and post-credit scenes and all that. But I think the majority of the movie, the plot points kind of fall in line with what we got in theaters.
Well, there is the aspect of Darkseid that wasn't included, obviously. Like you said, though, a lot of the character development that we didn't get, and we only saw those characters to a certain extent. And when it comes to Justice League, I mean, there's a lot there that, like, on paper, I'm interested in. It's just I can't help but think he did also do Batman versus Superman, and he did also do Man of Steel, which I enjoyed to a certain extent for like the first 2 acts. And then that third act happens, and he wipes out a whole city, and Superman doesn't like try and save anybody. So that's like a whole other thing.
And what I know, how Zack Snyder directs his movies, there are aspects to his movies that are fantastic and great and good. And there are other aspects to his movies where you're kind of scratching your head. You're kind of like, did that need to be in there? Did that need to happen? Why did he go in this direction? We got the whole, You know, in Man of Steel, you mentioned the Superman not saving anybody in Metropolis and everything just getting wiped out, and then him just snapping the neck, infamous neck snapping of General Zod. And then in Batman versus Superman, we got the whole Martha thing, where just kind of like, even when it happened, I was just like, this is how it's gonna turn. Okay. And so I kind of want to temper my expectations just a little bit. And with the episodic releases versus just the 6 hour, maybe 4 to 6 hour, I guess, a movie release, I would lean towards a movie release if it's 3 hours, between 3 and 4 hours. Now, if it's 6 hours long, I do not think that I can sit through 6 hours straight of just watching a movie. I would have to take like 2 or 3 breaks in between and just kind of power through it that way. But an episodic release, if they do an episodic release, I do feel like they're going to be releasing it weekly, so they can maximize the kind of their exposure for the Zack Snyder cut.
I'm like you. I'm tempering my expectations. I would like it to just be released. Just give it, whether it's a full-on movie, a 4-hour movie, 5-hour movie, whatever it is, or 6 episodes, just release it all at once. More than likely, if it's episodic, it's probably not going to be released all at once, since HBO Max is in the business of getting people to stay subscribed to their streaming service. They're probably going to keep it to where, you'll have to come back every week to get it if it's episodic. If it's a 5-hour movie, I don't care. I'll do it. I'm down for the challenge. It's going to be a slog if it's anything like Batman versus Superman, but I don't know. I'm down, but I am tempering my expectation.
And one quick thing before we wrap up our first video podcast on YouTube, the winners, I think, of all of this thing, if the Zack Snyder cut is going to be a success, I would say would be, one would be Ray Fisher, and 2 would be Henry Cavill. It kind of puts both of them back in the forefront of everything. Both of them finally came out. Well, not finally, but because Ray Fisher had always been supporting the Zack Snyder cut. But Henry Cavill finally came out and was part of the movement. He joined him on Vero, and also, I think, posted on Instagram as well. And so this, if it goes well, I think Warner Brothers has to revisit Henry Cavill's maybe Man of Steel 2. And I think they have to consider doing something on HBO Max with Ray Fisher's Cyborg, and maybe do more with the Justice League characters going forward, and quite possibly put together another team-up movie. And not saying immediately, but put something together within the next 5 to 7 years or so.
Yeah, Ray Fisher is probably the biggest winner, because we know a lot of his stuff got cut from Justice League. And then, Henry Cavill, yeah, definitely, because, maybe this gets the ball rolling on another Superman movie, because really, other than Man of Steel, he hasn't been the sole focus since then. And I feel like his character needs that time to grow, especially like in another solo movie. I guess another person, Kirstie Clemons, because she got cut out completely of Justice League, so we finally get to see her character, Iris West. I think it's really a win for a lot of those characters outside of Ben Affleck, because he ain't coming back.
But even Ben Affleck came out in support of the Snyder Cut as well. So it's the entire main cast have been pretty vocal, other than Henry Cavill, which finally, obviously showed support. So we're both excited to see Justice League Snyder Cut come out sometime next year. There's a $20 to $30 million budget, according to sources, and so and both of us, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that we're not going to see this for at least maybe a year, I would think.
Yeah, it's sometime in 2021. We don't really know outside of that, because it also depends on how much they need to finish. And then obviously we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so we don't know really. We know stuff is starting to reopen, but in terms of productions, we don't really know when those are going to start. I know filming for some shows in France, I believe, for Netflix and Amazon, that's possibly able to start soon. But who knows how much longer we're delayed in terms of coronavirus. That's going to partially hinder how long it takes for them to get everyone gathered to start, like, well, I guess to finish the movie.
Mhm.
So we'll see. It's a lot of waiting game
Yeah.
right now.
But everybody, you can finally breathe, because we are actually going to be getting the Snyder Cut. People that are super Zack Snyder fans, you guys, good job. You guys did this move. I don't think would have happened without dedicated fans, and it got toxic at times, but you guys are getting what you want.
I mean, for the fans that did it nicely and were actually decent human beings, good job. For the ones that were douches, I don't like you.
And that has been our first YouTube video, or I guess our third YouTube video, but our first one doing it like in this format. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
Please subscribe, turn your bells on if you guys want to hear us blab more about DC, Marvel, Star Wars, everything in that bubble kind of thing. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. Oh, I'm at both. I'm at my name Jong on both social media platforms, and I think you're at producer Mike 975 on both as well.
I'm at producer Mike 975 on everything because I have, again, no creative names.
Yeah. So follow us, tweet us, comment on our Instagram stuff, and subscribe. And hopefully you guys enjoyed everything that we're doing for you guys. You can always listen to our podcast as well. We're at ComiCast, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, every major podcast platform. So until next time.
See you.